Fratelloni's Hardware and Garden Stores brings you Garage Logic Podcast number 1425, November 13th, 2024. 71 degrees on this day in 1999. The record low was 0 on this day in 1986. And on this day,
on November 13th,
in 2010, almost 8 inches of snow.
Come on. Ooh. Boy, are we playing with house money today,
We don't have that in the deal.
House money.
In the forecast. I think so.
And now, from the mayor's office above the boathouse on the east shore of Spoon Lake, it's Garage Logic with Chris Reavers manning Technology Corner, Kenny Olson from the Krabby Coffee Shop, John Haidt in the newsroom, and of course, the Rookie. Here is your flashlight king, fireworks commissioner, and the keeper of common sense, your mayor, Joe Soucheray.
Howard sent me the election maps. I love the election maps.
You do like a nice map.
Showing the turnout around the country and what was red and blue. And it emphasizes something we've been saying for a long time. The closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, the more likely you are to be governed by Mysterians. There are no blue states in this country. There are, however, blue cities.
Right.
There are no blue states in this country. That's something to think about. There are blue cities. I believe Oklahoma is the only state that's entirely red without even a hint of blue in the cities.
Really?
And they got two big ones, Tulsa and Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, you've got a lot of blue cities, but no blue states.
You know, in fact, if you look at that, I think it's the map you're referring to, the post-election day map, you know, the area that Trump won and the area that Kamala won, someone had made the point where Trump's got better coverage than Verizon.
Yeah,
yeah, I saw that.
I know nothing about Pete Hegseth. He's been nominated by Trump to be his Secretary of Defense. So let me just say what I do know, and then I don't intend to bring up every Trump appointee. This guy might be a listener. He might be a
right?
GLer. Well, born in Minneapolis, apparently raised in Forest Lake. His name is Pete Hegseth, and I don't know him from his Fox TV work. I just haven't seen him do his show. But it sounds like he had a little bit of a better military career than, say, I don't know, Walls, for example.
Okay.
He has an undergraduate degree at Princeton and a graduate degree from the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard. In 2004, he volunteered to serve in Iraq, where he held the position of infantry platoon leader. During his time in Iraq, he was awarded the Bronze Star, Combat Infantryman Badge, and 2 Army Commendation Medals.
Wow.
Well, Walls said he had those, but it turns out he really didn't. I'm kidding. Walls didn't say he had those.
Not yet. He hasn't said that yet.
Hegseth returned to active duty in 2012 as a captain. He was deployed to Afghanistan with the Minnesota Army National Guard. So presumably the two would know each other, right?
Oh, I'm sure. At that level, yes.
And acted as a senior instructor at the Counterinsurgency Training Center in Kabul. Hegseth attained the rank of major. He has been awarded 2 Bronze Stars for his service overseas. Nevertheless, he was tagged as an extremist by the current woke military leadership in Washington, D.C., because he has a religious tattoo. He's got quite a bit of ink, if you've begun to see the photographs of him, because the conventional news-gathering institutions are rushing to condemn this fellow. I guess he's been married 15 times, and who knows? I have no idea.
15, huh?
No, 3 at least. Where was I? He has a religious tattoo. It's called a Jerusalem cross.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the National Guard during the inauguration of Joe Biden, so I served under Bush, served under Obama, served under Trump, and now was going to guard the inauguration because I was in the D.C. Guard. Ultimately, members of my unit in leadership deemed that I was an extremist or a white nationalist because of a tattoo I have, which is a religious tattoo. It's a Jerusalem cross. Everybody can look it up. But it was used as a premise to revoke my orders to guard the inauguration. Rooting out white nationalists is the new McCarthyism in the military. I'm reading from an email Tim sent me. Do you really believe a person with 2 Ivy League degrees and a successful TV career and all those military medals is going to be lured into white nationalism? My immediate suspicion would be that he has not been lured into white nationalism. I have no idea. He's got a lot of tattoos. Does that make you a white nationalist?
No.
Could you look up Jerusalem cross instead of sitting here with your mouth open?
Well, I was waiting to jump in. It's a heraldic cross and Christian cross variant consisting of a large cross potent surrounded by 4 smaller Greek crosses, 1 in each quadrant. Heavily popularized in the Crusades, it was used as the emblem of the coat of arms for the Kingdom of Jerusalem. This is what it looks like.
Yeah, he features that on his person.
Right. I'm not intimidated by that or upset or offended.
Is there any indication at all? Could you keep searching? Is there any indication at all that the Jerusalem cross sends a message of white supremacy or white nationalism?
Yes, I will continue.
John?
I can answer part of that. I looked it up last night when I read about this.
Yeah.
Apparently, some Jews find it anti-Semitic because it represents Christ and Christ being the king, and some Jews don't see Christ as the king. That's the only thing I could find.
Well,
about
Christ
it.
was
That
a
would
Jew.
indicate there was any issue with that.
Jesus was a Jew.
Right,
Yeah,
but many Jews just see him
right,
as a
and-
prophet, not as the Savior.
Well, we learned months
Yeah,
ago.
and-
I'm sorry, John.
I was just going to say, and part of the Crusades issue there was the Muslim thing, plus also Jewish folks. I did it again today.
Yeah.
Jewish people also, at times, Christians went after them during that era. And that's the only thing I could find. Other than that, I mean, it seems silly to,
when Albert,
make a
Prince
big
of
deal out of it.
Wales, and later King Edward VII visited Jerusalem in 1862, he had a Jerusalem cross tattooed on his arm. German Emperor Wilhelm II visited Jerusalem in 1898, and was awarded the Jerusalem Memorial Cross Order in the shape of a Jerusalem cross to those who accompanied him at the inauguration of the Lutheran Church of the Redeemer, Jerusalem.
Well,
so it
the
sounds like
Germans
it's all
took
over.
a wrong turn, didn't they?
Yeah, it's all over.
I wonder if Hegseth is Jewish. Maybe that could be looked up.
I didn't see that in his bio, what religion he was. But
the cross represents your belief in Christ, right? So I don't think he's Jewish. I mean, that's the whole point of the Jerusalem cross.
Right. Okay. Thank you, John.
what am I, chopped liver?
You know, if it turns out he's a crackpot, we'll find out.
I think if we, yeah, right. Because they're going to be doing
It
some.
seems like
Yes, John.
a stretch. I was just going to say, it seems like a stretch to associate just that one tattoo with him being a white
He
man.
also has a "We the People" tattoo on his forearm.
I think they'll vet out quite thoroughly the left
No,
side. Will.
I don't. Well, the left will.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're going to
Trump's
really.
just appointing his buddies.
And I believe, as we learned months ago, his full name was Christowitz.
Yeah. But if
People's Christ.
if Hegseth is a buddy, well, let me start this over. Trump is appointing a lot of loyalists and buddies.
Yep.
All right. Well, what if they're qualified? What if Hegseth turns out to be very qualified?
That's excellent.
That's just it, doesn't it? I've at least been getting the sense that it seems as though we're going to be taken seriously once again by some of the appointees. Don't you guys have that same sense?
And the same crowd that pray. Yes.
No, well, John gave me the smirk. Like, no.
Well, the Hegseth thing, I mean, even Republicans have started criticizing that. So I think there's going to be a lot of vetting, like Rook said, of everybody. And, and like Joe said, those who are seen to be appointees of favoritism may fall by the wayside at some point. So,
And the same crowd that thought it was great that Kamala Harris reportedly paid $5 million to Cardi B to have her make a campaign appearance.
Okay.
Cardi B is the singer of the most profane and outrageously grotesque sexual song of a sexual nature in the history of the country. That's not even an exaggeration.
No, I agree with that.
And so I don't want to hear your refined views of how many times somebody's been married. Not when you're cheering on Harris, who brings on the most foul creature that's ever held a microphone.
Copy.
And then paid her, reportedly, $5 million.
A lot of money.
So check this out.
To do what? She didn't gain you a single vote.
You still got slaughtered. So check this out. The woman that had $1 billion raised in her campaign, paid all these millions of dollars to have these celebrities endorse her. She finished $20 million in debt.
Yeah.
But she's the one that was going to fix the economy.
Well, she wasn't going to fix the economy.
Got it. Noted.
That's
noted.
all I have for now on Hegseth. That's all I know about him is just what I've read.
We'll wait for further developments.
Didn't know about him before yesterday.
Right.
Didn't know about the Jerusalem cross until today.
It's funny how we just keep learning
Now, he
information.
did run for a congressional seat in Minnesota in 2012.
2012, yep.
And you know what? Chances are he has listened to the show. I don't know how much time he spent in Minnesota, but we've been on a long time.
He
Well, that was
graduated in 99 as a Forest Lake Ranger. That was the year, 99.
Well, we were on the air for 6 years in 1999.
Good job on the math.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. I don't think it hurts for a podcast to have a guy as the Secretary of Defense. Now, if he turns out bad, we'll say it. But I'm not, far, so good.
Thank God we didn't have him on before he was appointed.
Oh, we would have. We must have had him on when he was running for Congress because he lost.
Because he lost.
He must be subject to the GL curse.
So I'm reading his Wikipedia page. So he returned to active duty after he lost the bid for the congressional seat?
Yes,
Wow.
as a captain.
That's pretty impressive.
They don't hand out those Bronze Stars just for the hell of it, do they?
Not that I'm aware of.
No, they're pretty tight with those.
Yeah.
You got to do something.
You want to know something else that's kind of interesting?
Well, so far you're on a roll.
As we speak, right this moment,
Right now?
maybe not when you listen to the podcast because I don't know when you listen to it, but right now it's a little after, well, it's almost 12:30 in Central Time.
Because we got a little late start today.
Well, we had some technical problems.
You did well, by the way.
Thank you,
You
Matt,
were
for
very
acknowledging
patient.
that.
You were very patient.
Yeah.
I was impressed.
Yeah, thank you. I'm working on that.
I know you are.
Yeah. Shut the hell up.
Right. It ends now.
As we speak, Congress is holding what's being called the Super Bowl of UFOs. It's called the official Congressional Hearings on Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, UAPs. Now, whistleblowers and eyewitnesses are going to be called to the microphone to testify.
Okay.
Some representatives apparently are so worried about what might come out that they're working with the Pentagon behind the scenes to try to cancel it. To the best of my knowledge, this hearing has not been canceled. It's taking place right now in Washington, D.C. This is all pre-Trump.
Okay.
Trump has nothing to do with this. In the Hubbard fold, we have a guy named Stephen Diener, who is host of the Unidentified Alien podcast.
The Diener?
Now, there was a day when we would laugh at that.
Yeah. Art Bell kind of stuff.
Yeah, but
West of the
it's no
Rockies. This is
longer
Art
Art Bell kind of stuff.
No, it's not.
Stephen Diener, and that podcast is very popular. Now, I think it's based out of Florida, but Diener is at these hearings in Washington.
Observing or?
And then he's going back, yes. And then he's going back to Florida tomorrow. We have him on the air Friday
Excellent.
to find out what exactly took place.
What happened?
What happened? This could be really, really interesting. What if we learn stuff that's been hidden for decades and decades? So look forward to Friday because we're going to have Stephen Diener on. He's host of Hubbard Radio's UAP. He's one of Ginny's people.
Got it.
And you can say, hey, Diener.
What happened?
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
I'm going to give him my theory.
Ooh.
My theory is that those aren't UFOs or UAPs hovering above military installations. Those are foreign actors.
Really?
Because I believe that if there are unknown beings from out there in the universe somewhere, they could care less. They couldn't care less about our military. They're so advanced that they're laughing at our military.
They look at us like we're a petting zoo.
We're
isn't
a
that
national
adorable?
park for the planet Zorb. We don't know what the hell we are. So I'm anxious to see what Diener thinks about that, Stephen Diener, because I don't believe these extraterrestrial
You think
cowboys are.
They're far more advanced.
That's what I'm thinking, Chris. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I hope you've put Precision Garage Doors telephone number into your cell phone contacts. You never know when you're going to need garage door repair, and the GLers keep weighing in that they've all had really satisfactory experiences with Precision Door MN. They serve western Wisconsin and the metro. They don't charge more for weekend visits, which is crucial. They fix everything that might be wrong with your current door, or they can send out a new garage door designer, and you can design a new garage door. They have models for every budget. I would not put on a new garage door until you consult with Precision Door. Put this number into your contacts, 612-263-6985. You know why you should put that in there?
Why?
Because you need a garage guy. You got to have, among the guys you need in life is a garage door guy. 612-263-6985. If you want to go online and schedule an appointment or schedule an on-site new door estimate, which of course is free, go to precisiondoormn.com.
done with my yogurt.
I am. Who's doing something?
You are, Joe.
What are you doing, the show?
The Earth is not your mother. The Joe
Yeah.
Souchere Show.
I have spasmodic dysphonia.
We shouldn't have told him that he sounds like RFK, because
Yeah,
now he's going to do
mistake.
it all
Why
the
did
time.
you tell him that?
I'm
Who told
very
him that?
interested in health and the way people eat. And the food on the campaign plane is the worst I've ever seen. It's KFC and Big Macs and Whoppers. And that's not good. I have spasmodic dysphonia. That's why I got it from a flu shot. And the reaction was this. And plus, I had a worm in my brain that ate part of my brain.
Well, that's not good.
That can never be
In
good.
1996, RFK Jr. suffered a
You are so
neurological
dumb.
injury, which
You are
baffled
so
doctors.
not in paying attention.
What did you say?
You were supposed to say what part of your
Oh, what part of your brain?
The main part. The part that makes my
I think
family.
you lost more than just a part of
the
your
part
brain.
that makes my family hate me. My wife, Lyle.
Oh, well,
Or
didn't
Loyal.
who other
What's
Kennedy
my
had
wife's
a-
name? She was on the show.
Cheryl
Adams.
Hines.
Cheryl Hines.
Who was the other one that had Kennedy that had a like a Katharine Hepburn sound?
Oh, I love that sound.
Isn't Cheryl's brother the new head coach of
Spencer.
the Wild?
Huh?
Cheryl's brother is the new head coach of the Wild.
Yes.
Yeah.
Heinz.
Daryl Hines.
John.
John.
Wait, I thought he was in radio.
I'm going to talk like this the whole. What if RFK did a podcast?
Dear
I don't
God.
think I could
I
listen to
almost
it.
went
No,
to Ricey.
I was just going to say,
Yes.
what if he got interviewed by Patrick?
Here we are, post-election.
How are you?
May I just say, I've told you before.
What are you going to say?
I just want you, GLers know this, but
What part of your brain?
the whole part.
Oh.
The GLers know this. John looked this up. We have another piece by the always available Seth Borenstein.
He's been busy this week.
Well, he's in, the date line is Baku, Azerbaijan. And it's another event that all the people trying to save the earth flew to,
Okay.
and then that caused the earth to be harmed, but they had to fly to the event. But John looked him up. John, he's a journalism teacher,
He does. He teaches at
New York University.
I'd have to find his. Was it New York? Yep, you're right. He's a adjunct professor at New York University,
journalism professor.
and society. he
Father
teaches.
Whalen is revolving in his modest tomb.
He just doesn't like that.
He's
does he?
revolving,
Revolving.
Matt.
Flipping over.
I didn't. This was in
Trying
yesterday.
to get out.
We had Liz Collin in yesterday. There was many things I did not get to, which is fine. It was great to have Liz in. This is among the things I didn't get to yesterday because I'm telling you with all my heart that the way this country is going to be undone, if in fact it ever is undone, will be through this climate hysteria. And now here's the latest. The headline. At UN climate talks, real issue is money. Well, no kidding, because what you're up to has nothing to do with the environment or the climate. And we learned that, and this is Dateline, Baku, Azerbaijan, by Seth Borenstein, the always available, Melina Walling, and Sibi Erasu of the AP. And we note that they say United Nations annual climate talks stuttered to a start Monday with more than 9 hours of backroom bickering over what should be on the agenda for the next 2 weeks. Now, keep in mind, this is one of the 5 world events that contributes the most to the carbon load in the atmosphere. It was the World Cup, the Olympics, the World Climate Talks, 2 others. Anyway, 2 of the 5 that are to save the Earth are also ruining the Earth. This would be one of them, because so many planes had to fly to Baku, Azerbaijan, to then do nothing except stay in the back room for 9 hours and bicker. Then they turn to the main issue, which is Monday. In Baku, Azerbaijan, where the world's first oil well was drilled, and the smell of fuel was noticeable outdoors.
Of course. Was it spewing?
Not yet.
They'll get to that.
The talks were more about the smell of money. Countries are negotiating how... This is so painfully obvious to all you poor brainwashed people. The talks were more about countries are negotiating how rich nations can pay up so poor countries can reduce carbon pollution in transitioning away from fossil fuels and towards clean energy and compensate for climate disasters. This is COP29. What's COP stand for, John? It's a UN bunch of BS. I wish the UN did not exist. They've not accomplished anything except they're at the
Citizens on Patrol, right, Rook?
They're at the forefront of trying to undo this country. So now we have to free up $250 billion. That will come from you, the taxpayer in America.
It's the 29th session of the Conference of the Parties to UNFCCC.
Thank you. That's the climate conference. The new COP29 president is Mukhtar Babayev.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mukhtar. And you got your hand out, huh?
Dave.
So we're going to turn, Chris, to windmilling, for example.
Yes, sir.
And here is an example of many windmills. Now, I think RFK Jr., yes, in my younger days, I was a alternative energy person, but when it came to the windmills off Cape Cod, I put my foot down
Not in my backyard.
because we could see them. In any event, a lot of windmills have been erected off Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard, and apparently they're far enough out to sea so the Kennedys can't see them from their compound. But one or more of them have fallen apart. Boston News Channel interviewed a woman on Nantucket.
I don't have the name of the news station.
Go ahead
I'm sorry.
this is real. I verified it. Go ahead.
Right now on Nantucket, they have closed the beaches because they don't want people getting impaled by shards of fiberglass.
Pieces of broken wind turbine in the water and on the beach. Nantucket's harbor master shutting down all south-facing beaches.
Each one of these blades is longer than a football field. And if they are snapping in half and sending shards of debris in all directions, that is extremely unsafe. People should really start asking themselves, what if there's a hurricane? What happens then? Do many blades break? What happens? And who's responsible for that? There are multiple projects planned of hundreds of turbines combined. Hundreds of turbines. There's probably going to be like 1,000 turbines in that block with blades longer than a football field.
If you could sprinkle magic dust on me right now and I would get to be whatever I want to be, I'd be the harbor master in Nantucket.
Okay.
How tough could that be?
It'd be a pretty good
That'd be a very good gig.
Be like being the mayor of GL. You got the boathouse above Spoon Lake.
Yep.
And you sit in your rocking chair and look at the harbor.
Everything's looking good.
Did you notice, too, the video that accompanied that song we just heard? There is a seagull on the beach, and he's got a little piece of fiberglass in his mouth.
That's terrible.
Because poor guy probably thought it was food.
Well, I saw the video, and these grotesque, sharp pieces of a damaged windmill blade are in fact washed up on the shore.
Yep.
And as the harbor master, I'd have to round up a crew and get out there and clean that up. And we don't know what to do with those blades yet. We just went through this in Minnesota where many blades were stacked up on vacant land down around Rochester, and the company that owned them finally had to be tracked down, and they were threatened with a timeout or all kinds of things.
Lawsuits, I believe.
Lawsuits, and they finally have begun the movement to get rid of those blades. But man alive, I don't want cut up windmill blades on the beach. The ocean's got enough problems.
There is a piece of good news accompanied with this, though. On July 16th of 2024, the U.S. Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement, the BSEE, shut down the Vineyard Wind Project until further notice. So that's good, right?
What bureau is this?
That would be, Joe, the U.S. Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement.
Are they a part of the EPA?
I can look that up.
Because people are going to mock and laugh about Elon Musk attempting to bring some streamlining and efficiency to government.
Right.
I'm not laughing. My God, the government is out of control.
It's a great
we
idea.
document it every day. It's so redundant, has so many agencies, and on and on and on and on. If that actually gets accomplished, it will be to everyone's benefit. It'll be a benefit to your pocketbook.
They are there, their mission statement, to promote safety, protect the environment, and conserve resources offshore through vigorous regulatory oversight and enforcement. They are the lead agency charged with advancing safety in that regard.
Are they under the auspices of the EPA?
That's what I'm trying to find.
Couldn't the EPA do this? Isn't that what they do?
Well, you got to have
and they're unelected.
You got to have a second agency, I would think.
It's just incredible how many of these people there are.
And why wouldn't you welcome that? Hey, yeah, we want an audit. Let's go.
I can't imagine that the government of the United States could be audited. It is so massive. It is just so massive.
The BSEE and the EPA work cooperatively to protect the environment using different statutory
Well, that tells
authorities.
me then that under the EPA, John Haidt's good at this. Under the EPA, John, see if you can determine how many subheadings there are.
Oh, God.
The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement is part of the Department of the Interior.
Okay, that's part of the Department of Interior. All right.
Okay.
Department of Interior would have national parks in its purview. And
Right.
Forest. Well, I suppose not forestry.
While John looks that up, you mentioned Elon and how, you can cut government spending pretty easily. There was one guy who was reelected and returned to Washington, D.C., and the caption just simply read, "This isn't fellow senators, this is his staff." And there had to have been 50 people welcoming him back. And I'm thinking, my God, what?
You know who else I'd send to Washington for cost cutting? Justin Jefferson.
Really?
The guy is got a head on his shoulders. He lives in an extremely modest townhome. Well, he could afford Lake Minnetonka if he wants, and he sees no reason for it.
And-
he has a modest townhome. It's either in Inver Grove or Egan, and I do think he's got a lot of money tied up in grills and jewelry.
Sure.
But he's not wasting his money on things he doesn't need.
In fact, I believe that because there was a story done on him when he signed the big new contract.
Yeah.
I believe he spent more on his parents' home than he did on his home.
Well, good for him.
Which is pretty cool.
And I hope to God he's got somebody squirreling that money away for him.
It's a great trend. I'd love to see that happen more often.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice, to see family come together, in terms of housing and things like that.
Let's go
we
here.
didn't have to.
Like your family,
We
come together, come together to live, come to live together.
right. We didn't have to. We didn't have to build a place.
Right,
They
right. It just
They just
came
decided
over,
to move in.
Yeah, and just moved in. So, what are you finding,
The
Johnny?
The EPA organizational chart lists 12 different departments, I guess you'd
Yeah.
call them.
Yep.
But each one has a region. So for instance, the first one is the Office of Air and Radiation, which is called AOR,
Yep.
and they're in all the regions of the U.S. If that
Yeah, you
makes
got to
sense.
have that.
Okay, wait,
and
but
then
the
it goes-
air covers
Yeah.
everything. That's okay. Air is covered.
Well, we got to cover with
Okay.
a bureau.
Okay.
2, we got Office of Chemical Safety and Pollution Prevention,
Okay, that's we're for that.
Chemicals.
Office of the Chief Financial Officer.
Sure, you got to have a
assume
guy
that
to.
he just
Watch the money. Watch the money.
watches
Yeah.
Yep. Office of Enforcement and Compliance Assurance, the OECA.
Yeah, you got to have
The
that.
Office of the General Counsel,
Right.
OGC, so that must be their law department.
Got to have lawyers, sure.
Probably. Office of Environmental Justice and External Civil Rights, or the OEJECR.
That's what I thought it was. Yeah.
Office of the Inspector General, Office of International and Tribal Affairs, Office of Land and Emergency Management, Office of Mission Support, the OMS, Office of Research and Development, and finally, the last one, I like the title of this one. It's the Office of Water.
I guess we got to protect the water.
I love thinking in terms of this is almost like the National Football League, Johnny.
of
You got each thing's got its own conference, and then you got your divisions, and then you
Right.
got 4 teams in each division. It's kind of nice. Dun, 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 dun.
I like the office of water. I was asked to be in the office of water, but I want to stay with food and health. Hey, last night, I was put on the spot by various people in my house, grilling me on the prices of food, which I famously don't know. But I got a few of them right.
Yeah.
But I was hectored into the idea that food prices are terribly high. And after they told me some of the prices, I certainly agreed. They're like a bag of grapes is very expensive.
Grapes are expensive.
And ground beef is very expensive.
This time of the year, too, produce can be very spendy.
But the point I ultimately arrived at, the conclusion I arrived at, is if food is this expensive, and it is, why does this country have such a serious obesity problem? You would think that people couldn't afford to eat as much as people apparently are eating. Well, I'll tell you what it is. It's unhealthy.
Here's what it is. It's processed
food
and big sugar.
I'm against processed
Eggs
food.
and bread are affordable. Eggs and bread are very affordable. You can go a long way with a lot of eggs.
Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that I've studied this, and the food is too processed. I don't know what that means. It means it's
reprocessed.
It comes out of the cow, but then it goes through too many hands, something like that.
Gotcha. So what we've learned also is that you would make a really bad contestant on The Price is Right.
Yeah, you would not fare well with Drew Carey. You wouldn't know anything.
You wouldn't know what the price of butter is.
I don't.
What did you get right in the grilling?
Shoot, what was it?
Got one thing, huh?
I got one thing right. I can't remember what it was.
One thing.
It had to have been
milk.
bread.
I got milk
You
pretty
got
close.
milk right. Okay.
2-something, 2.98.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, I got that.
How about almond
Close
milk?
enough, sure.
I didn't do almond milk because I'm not a member of that club.
Yeah.
How do you milk an almond?
We don't have an almond.
We got a bowl.
So I'm done with the climate. Again, it's a money grab. And you hardworking GLers, us hardworking GLers, we got to send, Botswana money so the king can get a new Rolls Royce. Who are you kidding? This is BS. B as in B, S as in S. Also, in the journal MIT Technology Review, that's not just your lowly fake mayor making this up.
Oh, these are the nerds.
This is MIT,
This is the
Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Yes, sir.
I happen to know a young fellow who was a professor there.
Really?
You know what he's been doing on weekends? They go up in a plane and do zero gravity checks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
I know a guy also that works at St. Thomas Academy. He's in charge of these experimental vehicle team. Works with the professors at MIT.
Good. Well, it's from the MIT Technology Review. We get this headline. Trump's win is a tragic loss for climate progress. How do you have, what is climate progress?
I don't know. They seem to think that they can predict the
you
future.
come out in the morning and the morning looks different than 2 mornings ago? Or?
Yeah. What are you gauging it with?
And this is an opinion piece by, what's the fellow's name? James Temple, MIT Technology Review. The Republican president-elect's return to the White House means the U.S. is going to squander precious momentum, unraveling, hard-won policy progress that was just beginning to pay off.
Okay. Just beginning.
Hey,
We were at
Temple,
the cusp.
Temple.
We were at
I
the
got
cusp.
your progress right here. It comes at a moment when the world can't afford to waste time, with nations far off track from receiving their money, their payouts. No, I put that in there. From any emissions trajectories that would keep our ecosystem stable and our communities safe. Hey, you know what, pal?
Right here.
Right here.
Here's your climate.
Right here.
Climb this.
Trump could push the globe into even more dangerous terrain. I do not believe that. By defanging President Biden's signature climate laws. In fact,
A second Trump administration could boost greenhouse gas emissions by 4 billion tons through 2030. Can I have the we don't know that?
You can have the we don't know that.
Where do they
we
come up
don't
with this?
know
Where do they
that.
come up with this BS? That's according to an earlier analysis by Carbon Brief, a well-regarded climate news and data site. This will exacerbate the dangers of heat waves, floods, wildfires, droughts, and famine, which we've never had before.
Right.
Never. Those things have never existed. Okay, pal. That's all I can read of your BS.
Filed. Noted. Got it. Thanks.
And if I didn't say this before, I want to say it today. We foghorn the word spaces now. You don't have to do it because we didn't use it. But we foghorn the word spaces. And the reason is all that's meant by that is you can be surrounded by people who you don't have to, that you don't have to disagree with. That's all space to be. I need space to reflect on the election.
Yeah.
All that means is you're in a room full of other snowflakes who you aren't going to be disagreeing with. That's all space.
Have we
means.
had a St. Kate's update? Do we know if there's still
No,
mourning?
we had an update.
Well, I know we did the day after, but
They're
I wonder if
mourning.
there's-
There was
They're
a video report that I saw, and I'd play it, but it's extremely visual. I forget the East Coast University where they all sat in a room and hugged and cried.
That could be any East Coast university, and they were in their safe spaces because that means they didn't have to hear anything they disagreed with.
What's going to happen to you when you get into the real world?
Well, that's the problem. The real world is either going to something has to change quickly.
They're living in a blue city.
Because these morons can't work.
You know what they need to do? Be at a 6 p.m. meeting.
There was a great editorial cartoon today, I think, in the Pioneer Press. I doubt that the Tribune would have run it. Well, to be fair, the Tribune, should I check?
Trust but verify.
Should I check?
Yeah, why not?
Just like
Can
at
I
the
verify?
airport. You know? I mean...
You were being briefed earlier, I saw.
No, it wasn't.
T2 efficiency meeting.
It was in the Pioneer Press. It's a college student with a great big life jacket on, clutching milk and cookies, and he is approaching World War II. It was on Veterans Day, approaching World War II soldiers and saying, "Excuse me, do you people know where there's a safe space?" It was just
Come on.
it was just wonderful. Say,
There's nothing like it.
I got to tell you about Ecofun. I one time bought a car from a dealership that said, we went around the country and we bought all of the kind of car you want. We found 6 because it's going out of production. And so they said, you better buy one today. And I did. All right. And
Sucker.
it's
I'm just going to say the same
That's
thing.
the oldest line in the book.
Oh, I got to run and talk to my
let me run
manager.
my sales manager.
this was true.
Says there's only 6 left, and this idiot bought the last one.
You know
And
what?
then called 3 of his friends.
Yeah,
You're
right.
cutting into Ecofun's time.
Oh, I love Tim. He does a great job. He's going to tell you the right thing.
The same thing, the same thing that's happening at Ecofun.
Yeah, but
The
better.
Yamaha electric bikes they have now, that's it. So, and they're still on sale. So if you want to get an electric Yamaha bike now, I haven't talked to Tim this week. I imagine there's still some in stock, but the sale is tremendous. And the way this weather forecast is going, you'd have a riding weekend this weekend. Yamaha electric bikes on sale, but there's more at Ecofun. Scooters, motorcycles, youth recreational equipment, helmets, apparel, great service department. But it is the electric bike capital of the world with huge, huge savings. Cross-core RC, the YDX Moro, the YDX Moro Pro, off-road, on-road, every kind of bike you want. They got a great parking lot. Test drive it before you leave, before you buy it. Get everything just perfect. And
Run some of the numbers.
You can do that at Ecofun Motorsports in Forest Lake. It's on Highway 97, immediately west of 35. You can't miss it. Brand new big building. What a fun store. And down in Burnsville, you have Ecofun on the Service Road of Life near County Road 42, ecofunmotorsports.com.
Here's a man who spends hours in hardware stores, sifting through the nuts and bolts of life.
Boy, I haven't
Joe
heard this song in a
Souchere.
long time.
I bet you'll hear it
John
again.
Haidt in the newsroom.
Thank you, Joe. This update brought to you by North American Banking Company. The Chisago County Government Center opened late yesterday after a bomb threat was sent to election staff, according to County Administrator Chase Burnham. It was sent through email, deemed not credible by the state. The Secretary of State's office said bomb threats have been sent to more than half of the state's election offices since last week. Burnham added that authorities are working with the state and federal government to track the email and determine its origin. Last Tuesday, on Election Day, numerous bomb threats were sent to polling places around the U.S. Department of Justice officials said they were all false alarms. Most of them came from Russia.
We're going to go to Radio Shack and buy the wires and the clips to make a bomb. I'm glad you're so careful about the word bomb, John.
Well, for a while I had forgotten you guys teasing me, and then I said it at home, and people at home started making fun of me.
Well, that's not very
now
nice.
I-
That's our job to make fun of you.
I'm indifferent, John.
I feel that we've been shortchanged.
I'm sorry
All right.
if you're offended.
I'm
I
not.
apologize. The Hennepin County Attorney's Office has reached a plea deal with one of the two men involved in that deadly backyard concert shooting last summer. Remember, we talked about this when it happened. As part of the plea deal, 18-year-old Cyril Boyd will testify against Dominic James Burris, the suspected main perpetrator of the shooting. He faces 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of first-degree assault, and 5 counts of second-degree assault. Prosecutors say that instead of prison time, Boyd now will be committed to a juvenile correctional facility, get intensive treatment, then be put on probation until he's 26. All of this happened back in August of 2023 when Minneapolis police responded to the shooting in the backyard of a home in the 2200 block of 16th Avenue South. The shooting had occurred as a local band was finishing up a concert of 30 to 50 people in the backyard there. Witnesses say the gathering was of people in the LGBTQ plus community, and that the shooters weren't part of the community but had come to the concert and interacted with people in minutes before the shooting. Investigators were told by witnesses that Burris and Boyd made derogatory comments about the sexual orientations of people there. The witness said that around 30 seconds after she saw the two leave, she heard gunshots. The shooters were identified as Burris and Boyd. 35-year-old August Golden was killed in the shooting and 6 others were hurt. The specific terms of Boyd's plea agreement says he will plead guilty to felony aiding an offender after the fact and will serve an 86-month state prison sentence, will be commuted to the DOC in Red Wing for the loss of life program, among other things. He will also be under state supervision until the age of 26 with a stayed prison sentence that may be imposed if he doesn't comply with the terms of the agreement.
John, who died?
Yes.
Who died?
A 35-year-old person, male.
And was he the one making
concert.
derogatory comments?
No. He was part of the LGBTQ group, and the people making derogatory comments were Boyd, the kid.
Yep.
That is the story was about basically, and Dominic Burris, who was the shooter.
Okay,
the
and they
perpetrator of this
they
whole thing.
apparently arrived at this thing uninvited or with ill intent.
Apparently, and they just hung around and talked for a little bit and started calling the people names.
I see.
Left and fired
And then the
30
poor
shots
guy
into
who's
the
dead,
backyard.
he was defending the community. I would
Well, I
imagine.
don't think there's any defense. I think
He
they
just
shot
got
from
killed.
outside the
I see.
yard.
All right.
They started shooting, or I guess it was Burris who was the main shooter.
Don't we have a guy, according to the Star Tribune, riding his bike around and taking pictures
Yeah,
of
yeah.
how beautiful Minneapolis is? Why doesn't he do that at night on some of these other neighborhoods?
It's really weird. He kind of picks and chooses his spots to ride his bike.
You know, you're not likely to get into a lot of trouble at sunrise and get a beautiful picture.
Did you read the story by chance?
I glanced at it.
One of the quotes that really caught my attention was the fact that this dope said, "Well, most of us know someone that's been carjacked or robbed." I'm thinking, what?
The Star Tribune gave the guy a lot of ink.
It's
because he's praiseworthy of the city.
Well, because it fits exactly what they're trying to do.
They have a lot of denial going.
Sunshine and roses every day.
It's just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's perfect, and when the next time you have one of these nudie parties, no one will get shot.
Right.
See?
Yeah.
Star Tribune reporting a 53-year-old man has been sentenced to probation for being drunk when he crashed his utility terrain vehicle in southern Minnesota and killed the passenger. Lance Lieferman of rural Mapleton, Minnesota, was sentenced in Blue Earth County District Court yesterday to 3 years probation after pleading guilty to criminal vehicular operation while under the influence of alcohol in connection with that crash that happened shortly before midnight, September 15th, 2022. Lieferman told a police officer at the scene that he and his passenger were out for a ride in the side-by-side when she yelled, "Hole." She was thrown from the vehicle into the hole, and the UTV landed on top of her. He tried in vain to get the UTV off the victim before running for help. He admitted having too much to drink, estimating he had 5 to 8 beers over the course of the day. He did submit to a preliminary breath test about 1:25 in the morning. 2 to 2.5 hours after having his final beer, he registered a blood alcohol content of 0.06%. That's within the legal limit. However, his degree of intoxication at the time of the crash likely was above 0.08, the state's legal minimum to be considered drunk while driving. And an update to a story from yesterday. A man shot by St. Paul police over the weekend was wanted for killing his pregnant wife, according to officials. 36-year-old Michael Stowers was shot multiple times and killed by police Saturday near homes on Bay Street and Watson Avenue. Officers received an anonymous report after 1 o'clock in the afternoon that Stowers was on a bicycle at a laundromat in the 1100 block of West 7th Street. The Stowers had been charged with killing Damara Alexis Kirkland and her unborn child in St. Paul's North End. He was not initially spotted at the laundromat by police, but while they monitored the business, he approached the location on a bicycle. When officers got there and marked squads followed, they found Stowers armed with a handgun. Then he pointed it at the officers. He was then shot by police. Stowers pronounced dead at the hospital. Why don't we take a break here and check in with the rookie?
Thank you, my friend. It is the rookie for Minnesota Masonic Charities. Go to mnmasoniccharities.org. Last Monday night, we had a screening of Join or Die, which is it's a great, great film talking about society and Bowling Alone, a book way back when. Also, joining groups and the decline of society. It's all over the map, but it comes together, and I wish that you would get your hands on it if you missed it last Monday night. Minnesota Masonic Charities promotes the community being self-sufficient. We don't need government to do everything for us. If we don't have everything, people like the Minnesota Masonic Charities, they'll help you out. There's all sorts of different ways. Scholarships, protecting the elderly, protecting the people that are repairing themselves with the Minnesota Masonic Home that's in Bloomington. It is a wonderful, wonderful outfit. I met some great people last night. John, the CEO, and his staff do a fantastic job, and the building is actually super, super cool. So if you haven't already, check out the podcasts, check out the scholarships, check out the website, mnmasoniccharities.org. That's mnmasoniccharities.org to learn more.
the end of the world as we know it, and he feels fine. Joe Souchere.
Let's talk about our friends at the Valley Group of GM Dealers. Normally, you would hear Royce do this ad for Jim Paul and the Valley Group of GM Dealers.
Whole
but
family.
Well, we kind of forgot on Monday Night Sports
We didn't
Talk.
forget. There was FUBAR.
And we had to have Patrick had a technical issue. So anyway, I'm here because you know what? I have made, 3 purchases of vehicles from the GM Valley Group of Dealers.
Did they have trouble with your paperwork and had to run it by the sales manager?
Well, the first time I was a little sketchy, and Jim said, Jesus, Reavers, what's going on here with your credit? And I said, don't worry about that. I work in radio.
A sign of the dotted line.
But they work with everybody, and that's the thing. You can check them out online today at valleycardealers.com. I've been a customer. Patrick's bought a number of vehicles from the Valley Group of GM Dealers. They work with all price points, all types of makes and models, and they have 3 fantastic showrooms to take care of you. I've done most of my business in Apple Valley, but you can also see them in Hastings. It's the Valley Group of GM Dealers. Stop in, make fun of Jim, and tell them that the Garage Logic crew sent you in today.
Thank you, Chris. In national and international stories, consumer prices rose 2.6% in October compared to a year ago. Ticking, can I say ticking? Yeah, I can't say never mind. Ticking upward from the previous month and reversing some of the cool down achieved in recent months. The fresh report matched economists' expectations for the month. The latest update offered a look at price increases little more than a week after the issue appeared to help former President Donald Trump win re-election.
Wait a minute. You kind of danced around using a foghornable word, by the way.
He didn't say it.
I didn't say it.
He adjusted himself to say it correctly.
That's legally allowed?
That's fine.
Okay.
He's a seasoned veteran.
Good to know.
Senate Republicans today electing John Thune to be the next Republican leader to succeed Mitch McConnell in a position he's held for 17 years. In doing so, they decided against choosing Trump ally Senator Rick Scott. With McConnell announcing his intent to step aside earlier this year, Thune, the current Republican whip, was running against John Cornyn, a Texas senator and former Republican whip, and Scott, a Florida Republican who had just won a re-election to his second term. In a statement, Thune said he was extremely honored and that the Republican team was united behind President Trump's agenda.
Senator McConnell, I'm really sorry to hear that you're stepping down. This is where you're supposed to do your impersonation.
I don't. I just do RFK.
Oh, you don't do McConnell anymore?
Can't wait for him to go bye-bye.
As President-elect
I'm not supposed to be the voice guy in the show. You are.
That's extra.
That was weird. Rook gave a political opinion, and you did the impersonation.
How about that? What's going on here?
As President-elect Trump's cabinet picks continue, a bit of a surprise with local flavor. Joe, you've already talked about this. He's nominating Fox News host Pete Hegseth to serve as defense secretary, tapping someone without much experience and untested on the global stage. Hegseth, as you said, grew up here in Forest Lake. The news was met, in various ways in Washington. Bewilderment and worry among many Washington Republicans as Trump passed on a number of established national security heavy hitters. Other Republicans called his combat experience an asset or said he was tremendously capable. Hegseth's choice could bring sweeping changes to the military. He has made it clear on his Fox News show and in interviews that he is opposed to woke programs that promote equity and inclusion. He also has questioned the role of women in combat and advocated pardoning service members who are charged with war crimes. Meanwhile, the president-elect said yesterday that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy will lead what he called the Department of Government Efficiency. It will be, he said, the Manhattan Project of this era, driving what he called drastic change through the government with major cuts and new efficiencies in bloated agencies in the federal bureaucracy by, he says, by July 4th, 2026. The statement did leave unanswered several major questions about the initiative. For starters, the president-elect did not address the fact that no such department exists, and he did not elaborate on whether his 2 supporters would hire a staff for the new department, something some folks are pointing out would be ironic, since it's aimed in part at reducing the federal workforce. Musk, who became one of Trump's biggest campaign contributors, said before the election he would help the president cut $2 trillion from the federal budget, but he did not explain in any detail how that would be done. The statement also did not address how Musk in particular would handle the task without creating conflicts of interest, given that SpaceX has secured more than $10 billion worth of federal contracts over the last decade.
I love this idea.
Also yesterday?
John, I love this idea, but it should have been done 60 years ago. And you know what they're going to find out? If they're successful in trimming the government and thinning the bureaucracy,
Draining the swamp.
they're going to find out that suddenly some things won't work because probably in each of these redundant agencies, there is either a guy or a woman with the eye shade who is taking the work seriously and getting something done. So when they wipe that person off, they'll realize, oh, this department doesn't even function anymore. They're going to have to go find that person and bring them back.
You mean because they're going to be too interdependent on each other?
I don't know what I mean.
Peeling back some of these.
I already said what I mean.
Okay.
I don't know what
I thought you were going to go down the road of,
I got
like, there was a summer where I was working in a factory and they cut hours, so everybody just worked slower, and half of everything got done. So then they put all the overtime hours back on.
That's not.
That's what I thought you were going
I'm
with.
sorry I even brought it
That's a
up.
good
John,
point.
go ahead, please.
Where is he?
I will, but now I would like to make a point because I didn't realize this, and perhaps it's because of the news cycle we live in now. Of the last, I think, 8 presidents, 5 of them I read had something very similar to this. They just didn't name it the government efficiency
Well,
department.
whatever it was, too, it didn't work.
Well, and they all campaigned on it
Yeah.
with pretty much the same thing. And then once they got elected,
Yeah.
it kind of went by the wayside. So President-elect Trump also announcing John Ratcliffe will serve as CIA director in his new administration. Ratcliffe served as director of national intelligence for the final months of Trump's first term, leading American spy agencies during the coronavirus pandemic and as the U.S. government contended with foreign efforts to interfere with the 2020 presidential election. Also this morning, President-elect Trump meeting with his former rival, President Biden, at the White House, a routine part of the transition process that became fraught in 2020 as Trump tried to overturn the election. Trump not extending the same courtesy to Biden in 2020, hampering the transition as he refused to concede that Biden won the election. Chris, you said I had something from this meeting.
Leader of the free
All
world.
right, let's go to this. They're meeting.
Looking forward to having like we said, smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough. And it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today. And I appreciate it very much. A transition that's so smooth, it'll be as smooth as it can get. And I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome.
Well, there you go.
All right,
That was a breath of fresh air.
What if they end up becoming buddies? Like they end up playing euchre together, huh?
And happiness now ends in 5, 4, 3.
John, when you said 5 previous presidents campaigned,
5 of the 8, I think it's
5 of the 8 campaigned on doing the efficiency. It reminds me of the great the documentary on David Geffen, or maybe it was a documentary on the Eagles, in which David Geffen was significantly featured, and he had Jackson Brown in his office one day, David Geffen, and Jackson overheard Geffen's phone call, and Geffen was saying, "You think you're ever going to get Jackson Brown to play in your venue again? You're out of your mind." And Jackson Brown's going, "No, stop!" Mm-hmm. And Geffen just winks at him and gives him a wave, like, "I'm just BSing
here,
yeah,
right?"
Yeah.
Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink.
Find them all.
A Proud Boys leader currently serving a 17-year sentence for his role in the January 6, 2021 Capitol attack is confident he'll be pardoned when Donald Trump is back in office. Joe Biggs, you may remember, he was a prominent leader in the Proud Boys organization, sentenced in August 2023 to 17 years in federal prison. The 40-year-old Biggs has expressed hope for a presidential pardon. He said, "I know he'll pardon us. I believe that with all my heart. We went there like he asked." Plans to file a formal pardon application with the Trump transition team as well as the Justice Department is coming, according to Biggs' lawyers. Meanwhile, former Vice President Mike Pence said he disagrees with any talk of pardons for the January 6th rioters. Speaking at the Dispatch Summit yesterday, Pence said, "At the end of the day, I'll always believe that by God's grace, we did our duty on January 6th to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America." He said, "I don't think the president should pardon anyone who assaulted a police officer at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. Hundreds of posters depicting Jewish faculty members as wanted were plastered across the University of Rochester campus in upstate New York Sunday night, an anti-Semitic act that the school's president said will not be tolerated. The posters criticized faculty members for their alleged response to the war in Gaza. One poster accuses a faculty member of ethnic cleansing and displacement of Palestinians. A different poster accuses another faculty member of racism, hate speech, and intimidation. The president there, Sarah Mangelsdorf, said, "I want to be clear as I can be that the University of Rochester strongly denounces the recent display of wanted posters that target our senior university leaders and members of our faculty."
Johnny, can you do me a favor? Can you go back to the previous story and read that last paragraph about tolerance of abusing Capitol Police officers? Because there's a quote that I found interesting based upon our conversation yesterday, that they weren't going to tolerate abuse directed towards Capitol Police officers.
Well, I hope we would not.
Well, there's a point I wanted to make.
No, all the quote was, "I don't think the president should pardon anyone who assaulted a police officer at the U.S. Capitol January 6th.
Okay, and I get all of that, and 100% that should not be tolerated. But isn't it funny how there's that tone, but yet the tone we heard from Liz Collins' piece yesterday, and all the anger and the hatred and everything else issued towards police officers and first responders here in the state of Minnesota. Isn't that an interesting...
It is. Two different animals, but interesting.
And it's a subject you and I have argued about on the show before, Chris.
Well, let's argue right now.
Well,
what do you mean?
not. Let's finish the news.
I don't want to argue. I just don't think it's analogous.
It's not.
And both are wrong. They're both wrong. I mean, both things are wrong.
I'm indifferent.
Thank you.
Rook. Hang on, I got to go back to where I was now. Sorry. Fixing LED strip lights to the bottom of surfboards could deter attacks by sharks, according to Australian scientists.
I thought light attracts fish.
Matt, let him finish the story.
A study conducted in Mosel Bay, South Africa, involved towing seal-shaped boards fitted with different configurations of lights behind a boat to see which attracted the most attention. The researchers from Macquarie University in New South Wales say the lights distorted the silhouette of their decoys on the ocean surface and limited the ability of great whites to see against the sunlight. Lights could prove a non-invasive means of shark restraint, unlike nets or drones. Great white sharks are the species responsible for the most human shark bite fatalities and often attack their prey from underneath. They're thought to be colorblind and sometimes mistake a surfer's silhouette for the outline of a seal. Now, the researchers say this is very, very early here. They say it's important to see whether the LED lighting is effective in deterring other shark species known to attack humans, including bull sharks and tiger sharks.
This going somewhere?
Just a seal.
Just a little ice cream.
A little ice cream.
John, that's fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you. I have...
what do you got? What do you have, Joe?
Break time.
You do have a break?
Yeah.
Okay.
he's got in his ears. It's Joe Souchere, live from Garage Logic.
I have two more really sad notes on the climate. And again, thank God the right guy got elected for the climate. California is soon to ban, as soon as 2025, to ban the sale of recreational motorhomes.
You're kidding me.
How many people is that going to put out of work? Don't they care? And it's the California Air Resources Board. They're unelected people.
But think about that. Think of all the people that retire to warm spots in California,
Well,
pull into the RV park, and they stay there for 3 months.
Well, they're not banning that, Matt.
No, but the sale of RVs, they're not going to be able to buy an RV into retirement.
You know what I would do? I'd open up an RV park across the border in Arizona.
Right.
That's what I would do.
There you go.
I'm sure there are already RV parks in Arizona. I think you're both so dramatically missing the point.
I think it's a good business plan.
You're just missing the point entirely.
What part of your brain?
You've lost all of yours. And
giant worm.
And the California Air Resources Board is essentially dictating to the California public how they may or may not spend their free time. And we don't like motorhomes because they spew. They spew. That's just pathetic. That's a shame.
I see an uprising.
It's just
what
a
was
shame.
the movie when was it Clint Eastwood that stormed the Capitol in the, what is it, an RV or was it a bus?
I don't know.
When he's driving up and they're shooting at him and he's trying to deliver something.
But I can top that.
Yeah, that movie?
I mentioned before that we, in order to save the Earth, we're engaging in one of the flying exercises that destroy the Earth, and that's getting to another climate conference.
Yeah.
This one, God only knows why, in where did I say it was? Beijing? No.
California?
Baku, Azerbaijan.
Oh, yeah.
You know who else is there?
Who?
The Taliban.
Oh, get them out of my country.
No, recognized as the leaders of Afghanistan, and they are there as a recognized government force. They got their hand out, too. They want money because they didn't get enough when we left them all of our equipment when we withdrew. They're part of the group that's fighting. Of course, they have to fight.
They got to fight, yeah.
To secure $1 trillion in climate finance. Just think, all you brainwashed people who buy this BS, a lot of your taxes could end up going to the Taliban if this happens. Go to the Taliban.
Pay attention.
So at a summit like this, does everyone get their country's theme, played? I mean, do we do that at this type of a summit?
Probably.
So did the Taliban have one?
I don't know. The event will be the first of its kind that the Taliban is invited to as the official representative body of the government of Afghanistan. They kill people. They treat women with disdain. They don't allow people to become educated. And yet, the people so desperate for this climate nonsense are including them because they might be useful in helping them secure money. Taliban terrorists seized control of the country in August 2021 after the collapse of the U.S.-backed government, triggered by now outgoing President Joe Biden's decision to violate an agreement with both the government and the Taliban to withdraw American forces by May 1st. And we left how many billions of dollars of equipment there? That these idiots, they go up in a helicopter, they don't know how to fly it, and they crash it. They don't even know what they're doing. But they're at this UN climate hearing. The right guy got elected to save our country from this. This is ridiculous. And I would imagine Trump's having a good laugh at the fact that you have a UN climate conference right now, and the Taliban is part of it. Since the establishment of the Islamic Emirate, this is the time we have been invited. This is the first time we have been invited to such a conference. Matul Haq Khalis, the head of the Afghan Red Crescent Society, told the Afghan outlet Tolo News, "We aim to share the extent of Afghanistan's climate impacts and related challenges in various forms during this conference. This is an opportunity to strengthen our relations. You fruitcakes live in a cave and paint your toenails. You to your credit, you are not really contributing to anything. You don't have cars. You live in caves. All you do is shoot people.
What's the guy's name?
This guy happens to be Matul Haq Kalis.
Got it.
Yeah. The hell with him. I can't take it. It's just a shame. It's just a shame that this movement has any credibility whatsoever.
I'm wondering too. Do you think the litany of things we were describing earlier in the show, based upon the certain departments with the regions and all that stuff that John went through? Did the Taliban have that same type of setup?
I don't think they have an EPA.
They don't have an EPA with certain departments and things like that.
Are they upset about spewing fumes?
No, I imagine them. Maybe they didn't even go by plane. Maybe they took one of those buses.
Steak truck?
No, those buses that are highly decorated, pictures of the moon on it and stuff. And,
yes, and everybody's clinging to the side.
And everybody's on the roof rack, and they're sticking out the window with their Kalashnikovs.
But that was a much better idea than hopping on the cargo planes that were leaving Afghanistan.
Well, those were poor civilians knowing what would be in store for them with the takeover of the Taliban.
Yeah.
And they were just dumb enough to think that they could actually survive by clinging to an airplane.
Please do not turn on the wipers.
And yet we have people in this country traumatized by an election.
The Gauntlet was that
because
movie.
They need
safe spaces.
They need a space, which means not having to hear anything you disagree with. It's a great way to live, isn't it?
You said space.
Yeah.
And finally, under the heading of "You leftists just can't get anything done," we now have another hearing on what are called the final plans for George Floyd Square.
Well, this is it.
About $5 million has been spent so far, and now the city is presenting what it's calling the final vision document. This is the vision document and a recommended street design concept. City staffers working with the Floyd family will keep the memorial intact and pedestrian friendly. You've had damn near 5 years to do this. You can't get it done. And have you driven through George Floyd Square lately?
No.
There's no change from what it was 4 years ago.
Well, let's do something.
None. And now we're going to have the final vision. 38th in Chicago. We're going to keep the raised fist. That's in the intersection. The gas station property, now owned by the city, will be converted into a community center.
We got enough of those. We got way too many of those.
One concern, if the area becomes too commercialized, longtime residents say they might become displaced. I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I'm not going to think that it's going to get too commercialized at 38th in Chicago.
Some of the things include that members of the community have mentioned was a memorial or a racial justice healing center, because those work. Those work. A space for reflection and contemplation, which means within the walls of that space, you would never hear anything you have to disagree with.
Maybe the guy on his bike in that Star Tribune piece can ride his bike down in the safe space in the healing center.
They're talking about a museum or art gallery and a community center for social services. City council members will review the plan this week, and next week they'll have more specifically about the street plans. So far, the project, what project? Nothing has happened, but it's called a project because these Mysterians can't get anything done. But so far, they've spent $5 million of Minneapolis taxpayer money. It's expected, the final vision, is expected to cost millions more.
Of course.
Millions
we got
more.
Money, right?
And the hope is to begin construction by next summer. That'll be the 5-year mark.
Out of that $5 million, I'm curious, what did it cost the city to buy that abandoned gas station?
I don't know.
So Chicago Lake Liquors is open. They've repaired, and I was just thinking about what businesses were in the thick of that.
All I kept
area.
thinking about is that poor guy that ran the auto center. Remember that? He couldn't even get in and out of his own facility.
Yeah, that's tough.
Without being threatened.
Well, it's all coming to conclusion now with a Final vision. A final vision.
Well, so if they start construction on that in the summer of 2025, that'll be what, 5 years to the almost?
I think I said that. It'll be year 5.
Yeah, Ray.
You really need to get a CAT scan or something.
I wasn't done, but that's okay.
Well, you were done.
No, I wasn't, but that's okay.
Are we done yet?
No, you were done. You're done. Only because they come to us all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, the temporary home of the traveling Lymans. It was on this day,
November 13th.
In 1833, Charles M. Loring was born in Portland, Maine. As Minneapolis Park Commissioner from 1883 to 1890, he was a principal player in the development of the city system of parks, public grounds, and children's playgrounds. He was the driving force behind the creation of Victory Memorial Drive. Loring Community School is named for him, and Central Park was renamed Loring Park, also in his honor. So we haven't. No one's researching this guy. We don't know if he had a slave or anything. I mean, so far he's surviving.
Yeah, he was in Maine, Joe. I don't think he had any slaves in Maine.
Never mind.
A little too north
On
of
this day,
Mason-Dixon line.
November 13th.
In 1891, Floyd B. Olson was born in Minneapolis. He was the first farmer labor governor, serving from 1931 until his death on August 22, 1936. He was remembered for implementing New Deal policies and for his skilled negotiating during the 1993 Hormel strike in Austin and the 1934 Teamsters strike in Minneapolis. Is it Hormel or Hormel?
Hormel.
Hormel.
Homemade
or Hormel?
I always thought it was Hormel, too. On this day,
11/13.
in 1970, police arrested Ronald Reed, a 20-year-old suspect in an Omaha bank robbery, on charges of conspiracy to kidnap Governor Harold Levander and St. Paul Councilwoman Rosalie Butler and hold them for hostage in exchange with African-American political prisoners.
Oh, that's heavy duty.
Police connected Reed to the Black Panther Party, but Emory Douglas, the Black Panther's national minister of culture, denied Reed's membership in the party. Probably hadn't paid up his dues.
Right, you got to do that first.
Reed, an ROTC member at the University of Minnesota, was held in Ramsey County Jail on a $150,000 bond, the highest in the state's history. And because this day in history isn't what it used to be, just like reporting, we don't know what happened to Ronald Reed, do we, John?
I think we do, don't we? I remembered it. Remember the James Sackett, the police officer that got shot?
Yeah.
Didn't we, after the fact, figure out that Ronald Reed is the one who shot him?
Holy
I think I'm researching it at the moment.
Well, how was he out of jail? He was held on
Ramsey County prosecutor Susan Hudson told jurors during a closing argument Tuesday that Reed set up the cold-blooded assassination of Sackett. Sackett was shot while answering a fake call about a pregnant woman in labor May 22nd, 1970.
Well, how he would have been in jail?
Well, in 1970, May 22nd, was he?
Yeah, because. Oh, wait a minute. Never mind. May of 1970 was before November of 1970.
Correct.
So in May of 1970, this Ronald Reed character was involved with the plot to shoot Officer Sackett.
Correct.
By November of the same year, he was arrested on charges of attempting to kidnap Harold Levander and St. Paul Councilwoman Rosalie Butler.
Correct. And he apparently was a bit of a goofball because the Sackett thing was also to impress the Black Panthers, who basically said, we want nothing to do with this guy.
Yeah, because because on this day in 1970, the Panthers denied his membership in the party.
Yep. Yeah. And we didn't know at that point in November that he was the person involved in the Sackett killing.
You'll learn a lot from this day in history. He did?
He had moved to Chicago, and he owned a house and worked as a pipe fitter, and in 2005 some witnesses came forward, and it's a long story. It's kind of interesting, actually.
Is he still alive?
Boy, that's a good question. He was sentenced to prison in 2006. He would be, if he was 54 in 2006, he'd be 72.
Well, how did he skip serving time for the Sackett thing and then the Levander thing?
Well, they didn't know about the Sackett thing until 30 years later.
Okay. Good Lord. You learn a lot from this day in history.
Especially when it goes on so long. Especially when it goes on so long.
Yeah.
The more you learn.
It's more involved than that. It's a long story, so
it
yes,
is.
it'd be interesting. I'm going to do some research.
All right, thank you.
Could you do us a favor? Could you hit that subscribe button on the Garage Logic YouTube channel? Because, on that YouTube channel, you can join the thousands of GLers that have already joined us. We have passed over 10,000 followers and subscribers on our Garage Logic YouTube channel. It's been really great. There's full segments. You can even watch the show live starting at noon each and every day, or I should say around noon each and every single day. It's been great. You can also follow us on all of our social media channels, which includes Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Sign up for the Daily Logician. It's an email that comes to your inbox. It includes the most recent episode of the podcast, a weekly note from the mayor, and great news, GLers, just in time for Christmas. We have launched a brand new Gumption County gift shop for your holiday needs. This is the chance to get all your iconic Spoon-like t-shirts, which is brand new for 2024. And they sold out at the Minnesota State Fair. But check them out online. It's at garagelogic.com.